It all started with a single notification, a ping that would send the entire love and hip-hop world spiraling into chaos. A late-night post, a screen recording, and Tasha K's unmistakable voice echoing through the timeline like a siren warning the culture that something dark was unfolding. For months, whispers had been growing in messy corners of the internet. Rumors, suspicion, side-eye glances every time Mendeecees appeared online without Yandy. But no one expected this. Not the shock, not the names involved, and definitely not the woman at the center of the storm, Ashley. A name we've heard, but never like this. Not as a stylist or a quiet presence in industry spaces, but as the woman allegedly tied to one of love and hip-hop's most complicated men. And when Tasha K pressed upload, that rumor turned into an emotional earthquake. Her voice cut straight through the silence. A lot of y'all been asking me about Mendeecees, and that secret situation he been sneaking around with. Well, the girl's name is Ashley, and baby, I got proof. Screenshots, audio snippets, a mysterious hotel hallway clip. The internet froze. You could feel the collective inhale, because if true, this wasn't just gossip. This was betrayal wrapped in receipts, dipped in heartbreak and blasted across millions of screens. And the timing? Cruel. Yandy had just finished posting motivational captions about loyalty, family, and growth. Meanwhile, the internet was already dissecting every word like hidden clues were buried between the hashtags. Fans rushed to comment sections. Conspiracy theories exploded on TikTok, and Twitter turned into a digital courtroom demanding answers. Was this a misunderstanding? A setup? Or had Mendeecees really stepped outside his marriage in secret? Again? Nobody had answers yet. Just shock, rage, confusion, and the uneasy feeling that something bigger was brewing behind the scenes. Because if Tasha K was only starting with a tease, the next drop could end relationships, reputations, and peace itself. And as phones lit up across the culture, one question sat heavy. If this was the first reveal, what was coming next? Long before that midnight bombshell hit the internet, this story had roots, deep, tangled, and quietly pulsing beneath the surface like a heartbeat nobody paid attention to until it skipped. For years, Yandy and Mendeecees positioned themselves as a power couple, rebuilding after prison time, parenting challenges, and caste drama. Their love wasn't perfect, but it survived storms that would have drowned most relationships. At least that's what we thought. But the thing about loyalty? It's loud when it's earned, and silent when it's questioned. Fans had noticed subtle changes months earlier. Less joint appearances, colder body language, captions that hinted at struggle instead of strength. Nothing obvious, just tiny cracks forming under pressure. Then came Ashley, a stylist with quiet industry respect, never loud, never thirsty for spotlight. She was always seen working, always professional. No scandals, no past mess. And maybe that made this rumor sting deeper. Because where chaos usually comes loud, this one felt intentional, calculated, hidden in plain sight. People close to production whispered that Ashley and Mendeecees crossed paths at an event months before. A networking conversation here. A styling consultation there. Innocent. Professional. But chemistry has a way of slipping through spaces where no one expects it. And in the social media age, even a liked photo or subtle emoji can plant suspicion like a seed waiting for rain. The rain came slowly. Comments about seeing them too close. Fan DMs about late-night sightings. Whispers about travel overlapping suspiciously. Nothing concrete. Just enough smoke to make everyone wonder if fire was nearby. Meanwhile, Tasha K wasn't sleeping. Love her or hate her, she doesn't chase random rumors. She hunts stories she believes have bones. And when she drops hints, the culture knows she already has ammo loaded. Still, the internet held its breath. Nobody wanted to accuse Mendeecees unfairly. Nobody wanted to hurt Yandy without reason. But the tone online shifted. Curiosity replacing calm, doubt replacing trust, and silence replacing the relationship goals energy fans used to feel watching them. It felt like everyone sensed something brewing, but nobody had proof yet. It was quiet suspicion, until that first video hit, and all the quiet suddenly felt like denial. And in that moment, before the truth exploded, the world waited for signs that this wasn't heading toward heartbreak. But heartbreak was already moving faster than anyone realized, racing toward center stage. The night everything unraveled wasn't dramatic at first glance. No paparazzi flashbulbs, no screaming on live, no TMZ headline announcing destruction. It began with something deceptively simple. A behind-the-scenes clip from a private industry mixer in Atlanta, recorded quietly on someone's phone. In the video, the music was low, the lights warm, and industry faces mingled like they always do. But there, tucked in a corner near the bar, stood Mendeecees and Ashley, not arguing, not posing, just talking, and too closely, too privately, too comfortably. The kind of body language you don't share with someone who's just a stylist. The way he leaned in, the soft hand gesture she made toward his collar, and the quiet smile they exchanged. Small moments, but in a world where vibes don't lie. Those vibes were loud. A fan who recognized them recorded only 8 seconds. Shaky, grainy, but filled with enough energy to send antennas up. They didn't post it immediately. Instead, they sent it to a blogger friend, who forwarded it to someone else. And somehow it landed in the inbox of the one person guaranteed to detonate a scandal with precision. Tasha K, and right before going public, Tasha's voice note leaked, a whisper before the storm. "I've been sitting on something. And once y'all see this, don't say I didn't warn you." The fan clip dropped, and the internet did what it does best. Freeze, rewind, zoom in, conspiracy thread the moment to death. Was that his hand brushing hers? Did he just tuck her hair behind her ear? Was that a soft laugh? Then, like dominoes, more pieces surfaced. Someone posted seeing them together at a late-night lounge weeks prior. Another claimed Ashley was on a flight Mendeecees boarded for a business trip. Someone else posted a blurry screenshot of what looked like Mendeecees in Ashley's comments months ago, a subtle fire emoji most people would scroll past, now looking like a spark to a hidden flame. Still, none of it was solid proof. It could have died down. It could have been brushed off as gossip. But scandals don't need concrete facts to spread. They need timing, tension, and just enough coincidence to make truth feel possible. And that's when Yandy inadvertently poured gasoline on the situation. Hours after the clip surfaced, she posted a photo. "When you give your all, but loyalty doesn't live where you thought it did." No names. No context. Just pain wrapped in poetic accusation. That post didn't just fuel speculation, it confirmed suspicion for millions. And while the world tried to decode every pixel of those 8 seconds, what came next would deliver clarity no one was ready for. Receipts. Lots of them. And they weren't whispers anymore. They were undeniable. The moment Yandy posted that cryptic caption, the culture went from curious to chaotic. It wasn't just a rumor anymore, it felt like confirmation sealed with heartbreak. And when a woman as composed as Yandy speaks in emotional parables, people listen. They refresh. They investigate. They connect dots even if dots barely exist. Twitter turned into a war zone before sunrise. Fan pages started digging like digital detectives, pulling up old photos, clips from reunions, and interviews where Mendeecees talked about loyalty and trust. Someone reposted the moment he said, "I don't ever want to hurt the woman who held me down through prison." Suddenly, that quote didn't sound like devotion. It sounded like irony aging badly under fluorescent reality. Then came the memes. Screenshots of the video next to pictures of Yandy with captions like, "She deserved better." Side-by-side comparisons of Ashley and Yandy with comments debating beauty, loyalty, and how men move when they forget who really rode for them. TikTok edits, dramatic music, crying emojis, slow zooms. The internet doesn't wait for facts. It creates emotional truth before the real truth lands. Meanwhile, Ashley's comment section exploded overnight. People demanded answers. Fans accused her of home-wrecking. Others defended her, arguing nobody knows what happens behind closed doors. Someone even claimed Ashley had turned off her Instagram comments, a rumor that spread before anyone checked. That's how fast the storm grew. Influencers chimed in too. A relationship YouTuber posted a reaction video titled, "If he cheated on Yandy, none of us are safe." Another creator recorded herself crying dramatically while eating ice cream. Joking but not joking, love is dead. Even celebrities quietly liked shady posts and tweets, subtle digital fingerprints hinting that insiders knew something the public didn't. And then, the live started. Instagram notifications stacked like confetti, bloggers discussing alleged betrayal, fans crying on camera, people trying to go live outside lounges hoping to catch more glimpses. It felt less like gossip and more like a cultural emergency broadcast where everyone had a role: investigator, judge, spectator, or empath. Judge, spectator, or empath. But as comments roared and timelines flooded, the loudest corner belonged to the one voice still silent: Mendeecees. No statement, no denial. No attempt to defend himself or calm speculation. That silence felt like confession to many and like strategy to others. The kind of quiet a man uses when he's either wrong or ready to let truth surface on someone else's terms. Still, one thing was clear: this wasn't dying down. It was accelerating. And Tasha K, watching digital flames rise, smiled like someone holding the matchbox and knowing she still had gasoline. Because chaos wasn't the peak. The receipts were coming. And they would take this story from speculation to devastation in seconds. When Tasha K finally hit post, the internet didn't exhale. It gasped. This wasn't a tease or a vague allegation or the usual shadowy sources say. This was concrete. Screens lit up, comment sections froze, and hearts dropped. Because the first receipt wasn't a rumor. It was a voice recording. Tasha's tone was steady, almost surgical. The way someone sounds when they know they're about to shift the entire cultural conversation. Y'all think this is about vibes and angles? Nah, we dealing with communication. Let me play this for y'all. The clip crackled for a moment, then a man's voice, undeniably Mendeecees, came through. "I told you I'll see you again when I'm back. Just relax. Soft, calm, familiar." It wasn't flirtatious, but it was intimate in a way that didn't feel like business. You don't soothe a stylist like that. You reassure someone you're emotionally tied to. Then Ashley's voice, quiet, almost nervous. "I just don't like feeling like I'm hidden." If the room wasn't already spinning, that line tipped it. People didn't screenshot. They screen recorded. They didn't save the video. They replayed it on loop, analyzing tones, pauses, emotions hanging between the words. Then came the screenshots, texts with timestamps, blurred corners showing Apple ID bubbles. The messages weren't graphic or wild, but they were worse in a way. Gentle, private check-ins, late night, "Did you get home safe?" messages, and one line that felt like a knife. "Wish I could talk to you right now." Whispers became oxygen. The internet ran with it. A flight receipt surfaced next, allegedly showing Ashley booked on the same outbound and return dates as one of Mendeecees' recent appearances. Tasha didn't have to say a word. She let the documents speak. And the silence between each reveal made the truth feel heavier. Still, the biggest hit wasn't a text or recording. It was a blurry FaceTime screenshot. Ashley smiling, Mendeecees visible in the corner. Not fully clear, but recognizable enough that denial would feel insulting. And that's when fans noticed the timestamp, 1:13 a.m. That detail broke hearts more than any audio clip. Because conversations after midnight hit different, and everyone knows it. Blogs exploded with headlines. Twitter Spaces launched instantly. Someone even slowed down the audio and filtered it like they were analyzing evidence in a courtroom, swearing they heard a familiar laugh in the background. But receipts don't only expose, they shift narrative momentum. And as they spread with wildfire speed, one question cut through the chaos louder than anything else. If this was only part one, what else did Tasha have waiting to drop next? And would Mendeecees finally break his silence before the next wave hit? The receipts didn't just land, they rearranged the room. Suddenly, the sympathy that once sat firmly with Mendeecees began sliding away like sand slipping through open fingers. Fans who once defended him with, "We don't know their relationship" energy started whispering, then typing, then tweeting with certainty, "Yeah, this ain't looking good." People who had held neutral ground quietly picked sides, and for the first time in years, the internet's protective shield around Mendeecees cracked. Not shattered, just cracked enough for doubt to seep through. Yandy didn't post another word, but she didn't have to. Her silence felt like tears behind a locked door, and silence from a woman who always stood 10 toes down for her marriage spoke louder than any essay could. Suddenly, Yandy was trending again, not because she said anything, but because the culture was saying it for her. TikTok edits showing her holding the family down. Instagram accounts reposting that legendary LHH scene where she stood by Mendeecees as he faced years away. Clips of her crying, raising kids, fighting for her family. And beside those clips, comments like, "She deserved loyalty." How do you betray a woman like that? This is why real love scares me. Meanwhile, Ashley's name, once just floating quietly in stylist circles, became a trending search. Not with admiration or curiosity, but with judgment, sympathy, envy, confusion. People didn't know whether to blame her, pity her, or see her as collateral damage in a man's emotional mess. Then something subtle happened. Female influencers, entrepreneurs, and even married celebrities started posting cryptic lines. "You can love someone and still disappoint them." Respect is louder than romance. When loyalty is questioned, peace becomes priority. The tone wasn't rage. It was exhaustion. A collective sigh from women who watched another ride-or-die situation crumble in real time. And while the internet shifted emotionally toward Yandy, Mendeecees' digital absence became heavier, not mysterious, but disappointing. That silence that once felt like strategy now felt like guilt, wearing a hoodie in the back of the room hoping not to be seen. Ashley? She went offline. Whether for protection or shame, nobody knew. But in scandals like this, disappearing only feeds imagination. The balance had changed. Yandy held public empathy. The public held receipts. And Mendeecees held nothing but silence. But silence can't last forever. Because as the story intensified, the industry started noticing, and whispers behind closed doors began turning into public moves. And when the business side reacts, drama shifts into survival mode. Industry silence is never truly silent. It just moves behind glass doors until the narrative is safe enough to touch publicly. And as this scandal gained heat, executives, PR strategists, and publicists began shifting like chess pieces preparing for impact. This wasn't tabloid noise anymore. It was a digital wildfire creeping toward brands, partnerships, and media images carefully built over years. First came the subtle signs. A scheduled podcast promo clip featuring Mendeecees mysteriously didn't drop. A business seminar page quietly removed his name from the panel lineup. Sponsorship tags paused. The machine didn't stop. It simply slowed, like engines preparing for turbulence. Because where there is doubt, corporations retreat. They don't wait for truth, they wait for safety. Meanwhile, someone in Yandy's camp, whether intentionally or not, let whispers slide to friendly media. Lines like "she's focusing on her children and family comes first" started circulating. Those weren't random captions. They were coded emotional stabilizers, gently framing her as dignified, graceful, unbothered by noise even if her heart was breaking. That's PR, protection disguised as serenity. Blog shows began planning emergency live streams. A producer from a major reality network allegedly sent out a quiet inquiry. Could this fracture storyline potential? Could cameras return? Because drama drives ratings and heartbreak, sadly, is currency. Even celebrities who normally keep distance from messy moments suddenly liked supportive posts under Yandy's photos. Influence doesn't always speak. Sometimes it taps a heart emoji and lets the world interpret meaning. And then came the first true corporate movement, a wellness brand. Yandy recently partnered with reposted her motivational quote without referencing the scandal, But everyone understood the subtext. We stand beside women who choose themselves, regardless of circumstances. That post alone shifted tone, from gossip to narrative, from scandal to emotional journey. But as the world rallied around Yandy, Mendeecees had a choice: remain silent and let the storm swallow him, or speak and risk saying the wrong thing under pressure. And Ashley? Her pages stayed dark, locked behind private walls while her name floated through every group chat like a warning flare. The entertainment world wasn't issuing statements yet, but its movements were clear. Reputations were adjusting, alliances shifting, and everyone braced for whatever revelation would come next. Because once personal heartbreak hits the business ecosystem, there's no turning back. And the emotional center of this story? It was about to break open even deeper. Behind every headline, every hashtag, and every clipped reaction video, there are human hearts beating unevenly in the dark. Public drama is loud, but private pain whispers. And in the quiet corners of this scandal, that's where the truth lived. For Yandy, this wasn't about gossip. It was about gravity. About the weight of years spent holding a family together through courts, visits, late-night tears, and prayers whispered into pillows. She wasn't just reacting to rumors. She was grappling with the possibility that the man she fought the world for might have handed his comfort to someone else. Betrayal isn't always a scream. Sometimes it's a soft internal collapse, the kind where you sit alone and whisper, "After everything?" Mendeecees, wherever he was, faced a different storm, less emotional, more internal. The silence wasn't confidence. It was conflict. Was he avoiding the world because he was innocent and tired? Or avoiding his reflection because guilt speaks louder than accusation when phones go silent at night? A man confronted with public disappointment often feels shame before he feels fear. And shame has a way of eating through armor. Then there was Ashley, a name suddenly weaponized, a life flipped without warning. Whether she was deeply involved, emotionally confused, misled, or simply caught in something she never planned, the result was the same. She became a villain in a story she never got to narrate. And even if she loved quietly, or cared softly, or made a mistake rooted in loneliness instead of malice, empathy rarely survives the internet's hunger. Sometimes the biggest punishment is being seen. Not fully, not fairly, just seen enough to lose control. This wasn't just scandal. It was heartbreak layered in humanity. When trust fractures, everyone bleeds differently. The world watched a love story bruise in real time, but the emotional fallout wasn't done yet. Because pain, once public, doesn't fade, it transforms. And sometimes it turns into truth that can't stay hidden anymore. And just when it felt like emotions couldn't stretch further, a revelation emerged. One that would flip the narrative again. Just when the internet thought it had mapped every angle, every whisper, every hint of truth, something shifted. Not from Tasha this time. Not from bloggers, not from fans digging through archives, not from leaked screenshots. The pivot came from a place nobody expected. A close circle friend. Someone who had been silent since the very first spark of the scandal. A woman with a small platform, barely known in the celebrity ecosystem, posted a message that detonated like a hidden landmine buried under weeks of noise. No clickbait title, no dramatic intro, just a simple, chilling line in her story. "Y'all think Ashley is the one? Okay, keep watching." That sentence sent shockwaves because it insinuated something bigger, something deeper, something the public had not even considered. Hours later, another post appeared from her account, a quote screenshot, white background, black text. Sometimes the headline is louder than the truth. Social media froze. Was Ashley a decoy? Was the narrative incomplete? Had the world jumped at shadows while something else, someone else, moved behind the scenes? Then came the audio clip. Not long, not heavily edited, just real conversation caught mid-emotion. Ashley's voice, trembling, tired, almost broken. "You told me you weren't with her like that anymore." A second voice replied, soft, low, unmistakably Mendeecees. "We complicated right now. You know that. It wasn't just infidelity being hinted at. It was the suggestion of a fractured marriage long before the scandal hit public radar, not betrayal in the dark, but a relationship collapsing quietly in the shadows long before screenshots and whispers became ammunition. Suddenly, the narrative warped. Was Ashley a secret affair? Or someone entangled in a separation nobody knew existed? Did Yandy's pain come from betrayal and a realization? And had Mendeecees' silence been guilt or exhaustion from a private war already fought? Then, the most shocking post arrived, from Yandy herself. No cryptic poetry this time. No motivational phrasing. Just raw, plain truth typed in simple black text on white background. Marriage is hard. Healing is harder. Please stop adding fuel to wounds you don't understand. That wasn't a denial. That wasn't confirmation. It was something heavier, a confession of complication, a plea for space, a quiet admission that the internet was meddling in a story already damaged before cameras turned toward it. And in that moment, the scandal shifted from accusation to tragedy. Betrayal wasn't the headline anymore. Heartbreak was. But revelations don't soothe wounds. They expose how deep they go. And as the world recalibrated, one question rose louder than the gossip ever did. If the truth was more complicated than anyone assumed, what did this mean for the future of their family, their love, and their public legacy? Once Yandy spoke her truth, softly, painfully, without accusation or theatrics, the public mood shifted again. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It wasn't even strictly about scandal. Instead, people began confronting the uncomfortable reality that sometimes relationships fall apart quietly long before anyone on the outside notices. And when that realization hits, gossip stops feeling entertaining and starts feeling intrusive. Suddenly, comment sections softened. Not everywhere. The internet always keeps sharp teeth. But the tone changed. More people wrote things like, "Marriage is messy," and "We don't know what they were going through." Women who once typed with fury began confessing their own private heartbreaks. Men posted about mistakes they regret, and people across platforms admitted something universal. Relationships don't dissolve neatly. Podcasts shifted from drama recaps to deeper conversations about loyalty, boundaries, emotional abandonment, and what happens when a couple starts drifting long before a scandal draws a spotlight. Someone tweeted, "Maybe the villain isn't a person. Maybe it's time, distance, and unspoken hurt." That sentiment echoed everywhere. Fans who once treated Yandy and Mendeecees as a fairy tale began realizing they might have been living out something far more human, a story of two people trying, hurting, loving, and maybe losing each other slowly. It didn't excuse anything, but it reframed everything. Ashley, too, became less of a target and more of a question mark. Was she a deliberate choice or a desperate escape? A betrayal or a symptom? People debated those questions not out of curiosity, but out of reflection. Because many had been in situations where affection blurred lines during emotional distance. That didn't make it right, but it made it relatable, and relatability shifts blame into understanding. Blogs slowed their attack tone. Influencers replaced reaction videos with empathy posts. Even gossip pages added disclaimers like, "Wishing healing for everyone involved." This wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. It was something quieter. Emotional maturity creeping into a space usually ruled by chaos. And as the dust settled just enough for hearts to catch up with headlines, one thing became clear: the climax wasn't shock anymore. It was acceptance, but acceptance doesn't erase consequences. It simply prepares the ground for them. And the next chapter wasn't about blame. It was about what each person would do with the pieces they now held. Everything had been building to this moment. The whispers, the accusations, the broken trust, and all those hidden emotions simmering beneath perfectly curated lives. When the truth finally spilled out, it didn't land softly. It detonated like a grenade thrown right at the heart of every relationship involved. The room wasn't just filled with voices, it was filled with history. Years of loyalty, betrayal, forgiveness, and resentment collided all at once. And suddenly everyone realized there was no going back to the world they once knew. The people who walked into this story thinking they were untouchable learned just how quickly power can shift. Some fought for their dignity, others scrambled to rewrite their narratives, and a few quietly accepted their downfall like they always sensed it was coming. And then there were those who rose, not because they were perfect, but because they faced the storm instead of running from it. They spoke truths others were afraid of, stood their ground when voices trembled, and walked away wounded but not defeated. Yet even in the middle of all this emotional wreckage, one question kept looping in everyone's mind: what now? Apologies were offered, some accepted, others thrown back like insults. Trust wasn't magically rebuilt. It stood there bruised, demanding time, effort, and proof. The ones who lost everything wore their regret like a shadow, realizing too late that arrogance has a price. The ones who survived didn't look victorious. They looked exhausted, aware that survival never comes without scars. But the story isn't truly over. Not yet. Because while the dust settled and everyone tried to reclaim peace, unanswered questions hung in the air like unfinished sentences. Who will heal? Who will rebuild? Who will secretly plot a comeback? And what hidden truths are still waiting to surface when the world least expects it? One chapter closes, but the echoes of this fallout are just beginning to ripple outward. Looking back at everything that unfolded, it's clear this wasn't just about scandal, secrets, or the shocking turns that kept everyone glued in disbelief. This was a story about human nature, how pride can blind us, how love can break us, and how ego can turn even the closest bonds into battlegrounds. Everyone had their reasons, everyone had their truths, and in the end, nobody walked away untouched. Some found clarity, others found consequences, and a few discovered a version of themselves they didn't expect, either stronger or more fragile than they ever imagined. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes it's not about who was right or who was wrong, but who was willing to learn, adapt, and grow. Life doesn't wrap itself in perfect resolutions, and not every wound heals on screen. Some scars stay, some hearts harden, and some minds never change, even when the world is watching. But one thing's for sure, after this, nothing will ever be the same. The stage is reset, alliances are shaky, and the future, wide open for chaos, redemption, or a twist none of us saw coming. So now it's your turn to weigh in. Whose side are you on? Who deserves grace? And who still has questions to answer? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm watching, and trust me, the conversation doesn't end here.